Right, edges. Can everybody hear me? And what chart? Can you see Prime XP2 website? Once audio visual is confirmed, we'll start. Hope you all had a great weekend. Easter break, extended weekend since Monday was bank holiday in most European countries. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get David on first. Okay, he's a bit busy, so I had to reschedule as well. So I'm gonna get him on, have his piece done, and then I'll do my part. I'll do Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I'll do as many odds as I can. Okay, so share the video if you can, like it, and I'm gonna bring David on once I do the disclaimer. So let's do the disclaimer first. So welcome back, Ledges, once again for another. It's not Monday today; it's Tuesday, and ideally I like to do when there's something clear. Although if you've been keeping up with my Telegram and Twitter, you'll know my setups. But yeah, Bitcoin for Ledges weekly live stream. Before we start, as always, need to acknowledge and thank our sponsor and our partner, Prime XPT, for making this happen. If you use the link in the description and use promo code TRADER1SZ, you'll get $7,000 on your trading deposit. So it helps support the stream. If you like what you see, then use the link. It keeps streams going. They sponsor me. I give it free for you guys. So if you're finding value, that's how it works. It works with everybody. Everybody sponsors me. That's how it works. Simple as that. Finally, as ever, nothing in this video stream constitutes financial advice in any way. Trading crypto comes with a high risk element, and you should always consult with a financial professional before embarking on any activity of this kind. Now that's out the way with, let's get David on. You know he shares the alpha. And David, can you hear me? I'm not sure if you can hear me. Oh, I'm muted, that's why. Yo, David, can you hear me?
Hello, mate. You alright? Can you hear me?
I'm too bad. So I've given you screen. Did you get major presenter? David's going to get his bit out the way with, and then I'm going to do my bit. Okay? So, if you want to... not sure if you can share screen. Can everybody hear David? There we are. So you all know,
Hi, guys.
You all know who David is. He's a regular, and he normally times the top. Hopefully this time he's wrong, but yeah, David, carry on.
Yeah, no. Hopefully I am wrong this time. I've got an awful record with the market just dumping straight off whenever I've appeared, and it does tend to be in markets that are ticking down anyway. So that's kind of a good thing. I'm not like disrupting an uptrend, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I just wanted to start off today with, keeping in mind what the base case is for all risk assets, not just Bitcoin, as we move forward. So you might see what this orange line is already. That's euro dollar futures. So showing the euro dollars is a short-term interest rate. So it's showing, how much the market expects a hike to occur by a certain time frame, essentially. And what we can see recently is something pretty interesting. So we saw the rally occur, and the rally occurred basically off of this, relatively slowing velocity of the market pricing in interest rate hikes. Now, it didn't actually mean that much, but we can start to see it ticking down again, and it's the lowest since, where are we? It's the lowest since Feb 2020 now. So the market is expecting, further rate hikes and that kind of thing. But I think what's important to note here is how it's slowed. And Bitcoin, especially being a high beta asset class, probably the highest beta, it's going to be very, very sensitive to interest rates. So that's definitely something to factor in, and especially when we did get that slight rally here where it kind of petered off a little bit. The market stopped pricing in as much of a hike, and that was just after the 25 basis points. Now they're back on the boil talking about 50 basis points at every single meeting. I don't necessarily see why they wouldn't do that, because inflation at the moment is pretty out of control, and headline inflation specifically. So we're talking about food, energy, that kind of thing. Corn today. So corn, which is forgotten. Let me just type it in. This on CBOT. Corn's hit the highest price in something like 12 years, I think. So if we go back a little bit, You can see there. So sorry, 10 years. 10 years it is. So you can see there kind of some of the stuff that we're facing. Nat gas as well, much higher. I thought it might have slowed a tiny bit and started to tick back, but no, it has faded today quite a lot. But this move is just absolutely insane. You know, it's a mental move. Really quick. A lot of volatility behind it, and a lot of velocity as well. So yeah, really tricky moves going on there. But yeah, as I mentioned, the base case for Bitcoin is most certainly tightening. And that's just something to be aware of. It's not that you won't get, you know, really sharp rallies or anything like that. It's just definitely something to be concerned with. Now, I just wanted to add on as well some technical stuff. So if we go to moving average, and then if we take a peek firstly at, I don't know what period that is. Inputs, that's 9. I don't want 9. Well, it's at the 9 week, but that doesn't matter. I don't really know why that's useful. Then we go to day. So if we're looking here at the 200 daily moving average, we can kind of see what kind of it's a bit of a weird structure that is formed, in my view. I think it's going to trick a lot of people. I can personally see it ticking up to here. I said it in a video on Macrodesiac, on the Macrodesiac YouTube a while back. I can see it getting back up
Before
to
you
50K.
continue, David, when you say that, do you think ES will pop up as well? Because obviously, you know, they're correlated and stuff. Do you think ES could squeeze that high as well with Bitcoin?
Yeah, but I think with the ES, so there's a level on the ES. I'll get back to Bitcoin in a second, but I think there's a level on the ES, which is here, which I think is a bit of a line in the sand. And what I think could happen on the ES, you know, the moving average here is in a kind of similar position, a little bit lower, because we've been a lot flatter here on the kind of range of the ES. But what I think would be a danger sign on the ES is if we form a lower low here, you know, so if we don't break above this high, because then there's kind of confirmation that this area here is really quite significant, you know, where we dropped off previously. So that area is quite significant. And especially if we do consider the, this is the 200 daily moving average, isn't it? I don't know why I've not got the thingy there. Yeah, it is. So if we consider the 200 daily moving average being around here as well and how it's behaved previously, so we've popped above for sure, popped above again, come back down below. If we just have like a lower high here and we kind of see a high form here and then we tick down again, I really see that as a really poor structure that will be formed there. So yeah, that's definitely concerning too. But yeah, on Bitcoin, something kind of similar. I don't see why this kind of range isn't available to trade into either. I think what will be key is if we do come up to this 200 daily moving average, and how the market behaves then. You know, if we touch it and reject like we did here, literally to the tick almost. I think, yeah, we just about missed it, but you kind of get the picture. You can have a little deviation around there, and you know, it doesn't have to go to the tick. But I wouldn't be surprised from now into you know, the next Fed meeting, which is about a month away. I wouldn't be surprised if we could see some relief higher, but I think there's an issue with getting too committed to longs if that happens. You know, I think, as you would probably say, the right thing to do is to look at your ranges, like here, for example. So we've got this one, obviously, the high there, and then we've got levels right here too. And you know, drawing that out, you can probably say that would be a good level to short into.
You more or less cover what I'm going to cover. You might as well carry on with this. I'm going to go.
but that's just my thinking on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I agree with that. I
think we're in a place where you know, it's getting to that stage where you see people on Twitter, for example, saying, "Oh God, this is so boring. Oh God, you know, it's all over," because the market's doing absolutely nothing. If the market was going down, people would be happy because there's volatility, and the same with if it's going up. But equally, they'd be happy if it was going down because they can buy spot lower, right? But as it stands, we're in this kind of weird place between, let's say, 48k and down to these lows here, where it's just like, oh god, it's just up and down chop the whole time. It's like being an FX trader. Look at euro volatility, it's just absolute dog shit. I'll show you that actually. So it's EVZ. And you can see that this is what FX traders have been facing for so long. It's just like a decline in volatility environment. That's the line of best fit there. So that's the trend line. And you can see it just goes down. And this is what we have to face. We love these spikes, but look, that spike's been faded. Now, talking specifically about the euro and yen and FX in general, actually, I wanted to mention this because I think it's quite important from that kind of global volatility aspect. So I'm pretty sure everyone knows about the dollar strength that's been going on at the moment. And I'll show dollar yen in a second. But a problem here for the Eurozone, for Japan, and for any other countries that are, really, really under the cosh from this dollar strength is that obviously their currency weakens. And so that's going to push inflation up further. So they've got two different things to battle there. They've got the currency side of things, and then they've got the inflation side of things, right? And also then they've got the state of the economy. So they can't just raise rates really quickly to combat this inflation because it could create, dislocations. But at the same time, what other option do they have to do? So I'm looking at the euro dollar here and also the Japanese yen. And we did a piece today in Macrodesiac on Japanese yen, actually. And, we're reaching up to this 130 level. The Bank of Japan has already said that that's untenable. So what we're going to start seeing is central banks coming together to do slightly different interventions to what they've done previously. I think the last time the Bank of Japan bought yen to try and strengthen it was in 1998. And then we had a pretty shit few years after that with the dot-com bubble, markets crashing, recession, etc., etc. And I think if the euro keeps going as it does as well, we're going to see the ECB have to step in and do something as well, because in this environment, they can't allow that kind of currency volatility to really, kind of mess things up for them. Now, in terms of the dollar yen as well, there's this to note. So basically, the Bank of Japan has something known as yield curve control, and they've got a cap on the amount to the upside that the 10-year yield can go, and that's 0.25%. So you can see they're right at that limit right now, which is what is leading me to believe that if the yen keeps weakening enough to get to 130, they're going to have to do something, right? Because it means that their policy breaks. So these are the kind of things that when you're looking at it from a macro perspective, you can start thinking, oh shit, how is the market actually fighting the central bank here?
See,
how is central bank policy?
Can I stop you for a second?
What's that, mate?
This is what I've been wondering as well, what you're leading on to, and thanks for explaining this. I'm seeing this as an equal measure move, to be honest with you, from like the 76s. And I've been wondering, when the fuck are they going to put the brakes on this? It's like non-stop relentless. It reminds me of when they first started to ease in like 2012, 2013. And the 400-500 pip days we used to get in the yen. So do you think, I know you're talking about they're close to intervention levels, but on a TA basis, do you think this could be an equal move higher, which could lead to 140s, 150s?
Do you mean copying this bit?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that would be a massive, massive issue, because I don't know, if they failed to be able to stabilize dollar yen here at 130, considering all of the different things that they've been saying, that would be very, very dangerous for their policy path and the credibility of the BOJ to be able to, actually enter the market and be able to do stuff. It's all well and good being able to print, because they don't actually actively have to do that much, to just go out and buy assets. But to try and have to fend off a market like the dollar yen, one of the largest currency markets in the world. It is a bit of a tricky deal, but they've got to do it for the sake of the inflation purposes, because Japan is a very different economy to most others. Obviously all economies are different, but Japan especially, because for such a large economy, they're massive importers of energy, of goods, of services, loads of different stuff. And this weak yen is really, really going to be affecting businesses there, because obviously, at some point they're going to say, okay, well, we have to pass these costs on to the consumer. What do we do? And so that's what the Ministry of Finance is looking at the moment, and the BOJ. But I think the key point here is that when you start to get into a situation where central banks are coming out having to fight the market, that can be where you get absolutely massive moves, possibly going the other way. And something else that I look at, if we go on to IGUSD is retail sentiment. And you can see here that 70% of client accounts at IG, and I specifically use IG because they're one of the largest brokers in the world, they're short. 74% of their retail clients are short, which leads me to believe that roughly, considering they've been short for so long now, and this coincides with the news stories coming out from the Ministry of Finance, from the Bank of Japan, etc., etc., it leads me to believe that we've probably got that 130 handle as a place to say, okay, we can sell there. Purely because I don't think retail traders can sustain another 200 tick move, it's only 130 odd ticks now to 130. So perhaps what we could start looking at is a situation like this. We had a similar situation back in 2001. I think this is when I was referring to, dollar yen getting up here again. We've got a similar situation here. We've got that move, and then 130 comes, and we kind of relatively, it shits the bed. So that's definitely something that I'm watching over the next couple of weeks, because I think, as I said, when stuff like that happens in the FX markets, considering how not volatile they've been, it's such an important market that when the central bank has to fight back against the market, you can get some real volatility across all markets, since FX is, dominates all markets. So definitely pay attention to that, and the same with the euro as well, just to a lesser extent, I think. So let's get rid of that. If you look at the euro from a technical perspective, I mean, look, we're right. Oh, what's that? We're right at this support, aren't we? Depending on how you draw it, we've already broken through it. You could draw it, if you use a line chart, you could probably show that we're already through it. If we go to close only. So, that could be something quite key as well. Personally, I think we fade this low and then push back up. But, all of these things now are coming to a time where we have to think of, okay, which central bank is now pivoting their policy drastically, or going to be forced to by the market. And these are the times where I think, you get really, really crazy moves and crazy volatility.
I want to ask you a question about this. Do you think they'll start intervention at these levels? I mean, we've got dollar index at extreme range highs. We've got euros at intervention levels. Or do you think they can just allow it to go further?
Well, I think the Bank of Japan's already talking about it. The ECB not so much, but they'll start thinking about it for sure. Back in October, when was it? It wasn't last October. It was October 2020. I think if we recall, Philip Lane, it was here actually, where they were referring to the currency being low.
Is there a specific price?
Maybe it wasn't in 2020.
Because I remember back in euro, back a couple of years ago, ECB were talking about, Draghi was talking about the 1.4 level in euro. I remember one of the things. I mean, I don't know much about it, but 1.4 level was the level they wanted to intervene at. So is there currently a level they're looking at, specific level?
Yeah, it was the whatever it takes speech, I think.
Yeah.
Or there is no. Yeah, it was whatever it takes. But See, the difference now is that the euro, back then they were in a low inflation environment, but now they're in a high inflation environment. So a weaker currency literally boosts inflation when they're trying to combat that inflation. So, rate hikes could work and should be on the cards. I think the ECB are a bunch of fucking pussies for not raising rates. They kept them at zero with a deposit facility of negative 20 basis points at the last meeting, which was, I think, last week, maybe the week before. I can't remember now, going crazy. But we're in a totally different regime to all the way back here. Back here, they wanted inflation. Now, not so much. So yeah, it's a really, really weird time in currency land at the moment, but a good time because the volatility is there, and that's what we want. I mean, if you look at the dollar yen chart, it looks like a fucking shitcoin chart, right? Like, look at that, just straight up for the last couple of weeks. It's literally insane.
I mean, I caught that move, but there's me
Did you?
thinking. I mean, this was a bit. It's always been about to get out. It's that big run happens then, with yen especially. Because I was reading and I remember you said the CAD yen's going down, and I thought CAD yen was going down as well. But fucking hell, man, this year, I mean, what the fuck do you make of it?
Yeah, I think with CAD yen, yeah, I probably should have got out sooner. I should have probably got out well before 91.5, 92, which is roughly where I got out between those prices, because it wasn't going anywhere. But this yen move, I think, is just absolutely crazy. I think it's done what is it? It's the first time in like 40 years maybe that it's had 13 days down in a row, which is mad. It's absolutely mad. So yeah, it's ridiculous. But I think, yeah, just kind of rounding back on everything, the base case has to be tightening still. I mean, I showed that chart of euro dollar futures.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, is there any link between yen and Bitcoin? I know I'm fucking pissing in the wind here, but is there any link? I mean, because the reason why I say that is because obviously when normally with yen pairs go up, equities go up, and if equities go up, Bitcoin goes up. But we haven't really had that kind of correlation as we used to, like yen pairs and equities together.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't think so. I think people try to put certain correlations between things like 10-year yield and things like that. But yeah, the big problem with doing that is that the 10-year yield becomes responsive to different things at different times. Like at some points it might be responsive to inflation, and then it will switch and be responsive to something else, So it's a tricky one to try and gauge what's going on in bond land as well, because that's another mental market, probably more mental at the moment than FX. But yeah, I think if we're really trying to get to grips with a broader view, and if you wanted a trading strategy for trading spot Bitcoin, it would be long when euro dollar futures are increasing, so this orange line going up, and short when this is going down.
Okay.
To be honest, like that's probably the easiest
I remember
way
you
to
picked the top next last time around the 60Ks and stuff, and even below the 60Ks. It's worked out well so far, that correlation has. But the question is, does it last?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same with as I said, any risk assets. But the thing is that, let's say, for example, you've got a portfolio of everything, right? So you've got bonds, you've got FX, you've got small cap stocks, large cap stocks, blue chip stocks, then crypto. What are you going to get rid of first if you think that interest rates are going up? I mean, you're probably going to get rid of your highest beta assets that are negatively correlated with interest rates, right? Which is why I think that Bitcoin, has this sensitivity to increasing rates, probably more so than equity indices, purely because people just want to get it off the books, because they want to book the profit. They know it's volatile. They know it will go down faster than other assets. That's just the way that I see it. The market is dominated by liquidity. If hikes are in play, liquidity is relatively being drained. And if they're trying to get rid of QE as well, same thing. And QT is another big thing to watch out for. So quantitative tightening, when they're actually selling mortgage-backed securities, selling treasuries back to the market, that's another big issue, and that's not even been entered in yet. They've not even started doing that. So whether they'll even get to it is another question, but it's on the cards, and so it's definitely something to pay attention to.
Excellent. Well, I think
We haven't started selling off yet. Well, we have actually a little bit.
it takes time. Maybe this is the breaks the trend this time. I mean, you got 6 out of 6, mate. Come on,
Yeah,
I'm not too greedy.
Yeah, hopefully.
I actually this time round. I mean, I hate longing. I'm just naturally a short only trader, but I generally think this is going to be squeezed up. Like, I'm glad you mentioned at the beginning. I mean, you can be bearish on your overall picture, but being bearish and having actually a trigger plan are two separate things. So I'm glad you mentioned this could squeeze up higher, which I'm anticipating as well, maybe to the 44, 45k before the next leg lower. Man, that's how markets work.
Yeah, it really wouldn't surprise me, especially after that kind of impulse that we had yesterday, off of that Vanek news. I think, not sure why it squeezed right after that, because it was actually a negative for the spot ETF being granted, but perhaps it was a misread by algos, and then you got people repositioning, some stops cleared out. I don't know. So it's a weird one, but yeah, that kind of basey sort of structures formed. Also, wouldn't be surprised if we do that kind of over under pattern.
Yeah.
If we were to get down to there, people start shorting again, and then we sort of go like this, back up to this high maybe, and then just repeat, sell it off, back up there.
Actually, since you've been Bitcoin has been dropping, so yeah, you've got that.
Yeah,
actually,
it
it's
has.
fucking turn on watching it now, and it's fucking on my positions. But yeah, thanks a lot for coming on.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, no, I think that's all I've really got to say today, mate.
Thank you very much. And somebody asked, it's on private, you can't see it on the YouTube chat. When you do your macrodesiac newsletters, do you talk about Bitcoin in there? I mean, because a lot of the subscribers obviously are Bitcoin traders, so it's just and is there any sort of discount for coming on the stream? I want to know.
Yeah,
There's always somebody like that.
there is a discount actually. What I will do, what would be the easiest way to do it? If you DM me on Twitter at @DavidBell_, then I'll sort you out with a discount.
Okay.
But yeah, we talk about.
Do you want to show your website?
Talk about everything.
Do you want to show your website just in case they want to check it out?
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry, I've got a wide as Paris smell of piss thing up there.
That's okay.
You might not have seen it. I just changed it. But yeah, this is macrodesiac. We've got a Discord. We've got guys that are at banks, guys that are at funds, guys that are at there's an energy trader there for I think one of the big oil companies. I don't actually know who he trades for. I think I might just call that one time. But yeah, there's loads of really good stuff in there. And although we like to have a laugh, we are actually very, very serious about talking about the market and getting into things. So it's probably one of the better Discords out there. And then yeah, you get articles like
I personally vouch for David. There's about 2 or 3 people I vouch for FA. David's one of them. That's why I bring him on, and his works speaks for himself. When I brought him on. One last question, David. There's talk about people asking market of Bitcoin was selling off due to tax selling. What's that all about? Do you have an opinion on that before I let you go?
That's more of a US thing. I'm not sure about US taxes,
Somebody was asking.
I think, yeah, I'm not a tax advisor, so I don't really know, but I presume it's to try and offset some gains against some losses or something against gains. I don't know. I'm honestly not too sure about that.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on. Everybody check out David Bell. His handle's on the title. Give him a follow. If you like what you see, he shares, FA, traditional markets, Bitcoin, and whatever questions you got, just DM him and he'll answer. Thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Nice one, mate. Have a good evening. Cheers, guys.
Okay, my part now. So, thank you for tuning in. I think, Dave is probably my favorite guest to come bring on. That's why I probably brought out of all the guests to bring on, I bring on David most often. The reason why I do that isn't, forget the fact that he's my mate. I mean, I've got loads of mates. It's because his FA really resonates with me. I mean, and if you think, if you think about it, you know, a lot of the Bitcoin analysis we've done. Look, go back to his feeds. Go back to when I brought him on as guest. How does the FA line up with ES and Bitcoin? They've often been accurate. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but at least you're given the other side of the argument. Now, he has been bearish, but he's been bearish for a good reason. And if you recall the times I brought him on, I mean, they've been here. So at least you've got not just a TA point of view, you've got good reasoning behind why it should go down. I think it was here once, here, a couple of times here, a couple of times I brought him on. So, you know, at least you've got a reasoning behind it. So I'm going to continue 1 minute. Okay, so let's get my bit on, okay? Bitcoin dumps as he comes on stream. Son of a bitch! Look at that! Look at that! Look at that sell-off! Look at that couple of $100 sell-off. Anyways, let's get cracking. So I'm gonna start my stream off, and to be honest with you, there's not much to say other than I'm gonna recap last week's setups, and there's quite a few setups that went to plan. So we spoke about. Let me just do a generalized view. This range level here, and we were down here. Okay, we were down here. So this was what I spoke about. I said if it makes a clean breakdown below here, target. Okay, so that was just a generalized view. And if it holds this area, and then if it breaks above it, well, that's finding a base at key support. Just like here, there's a base there that would lead to probably towards here, which David spoke about. Okay, now let's go to the chart we did together. And we marked at last week's Monday's high. So this is last week's Monday's range, okay? Monday's high, Monday's low. Now let's look at the setups. When it was down here, there's two setups. One, I said, it deviates this low, it reclaims, we're going to look for longs. Scenario 2 is if it makes a shallower pullback, a higher low, we're going to look for a deviation here. And once it reclaims here, that's going to be a long towards mid-range as first target. And then if it breaks above, secondary target. Look what it did. It swung fail this low, deviated, you're long, boom, straight to target. Okay, even the short scenario said if it breaks below here, then that's a short setup. Okay, nice break of a trend line. There's that clean break. It's not a swing failure, clean break. Automatically, minimum is you're getting validation to work with. Now, whether it pulls back there or not, I don't know. It pulled back towards there, short. Target 1 and then extended lower to target 2. How could you do target 2s? Well, you do low to high, and you've got the 127.2 extension. But regardless, as soon as target 1 gets hit, anything else is bonus. Then I said, well, I remember the initial plan. If it comes below here, well, it did that here, didn't it? Reclaim. Now, I was actually looking for bearishness, and I'm gonna go over. I actually changed my mind. So if you look at my Twitter feed, I was looking for bearishness. I said if it does this and then breaks down below here, then look for shorts. Okay, so automatically once it reclaimed and held above, I took a long here. Why? Because equity. So I did a snippet video. If you look at my snippet video, I updated later on, and they were holding up quite well. I'm gonna go over ES as well, and as soon as I did that, well, you know what? If I'm wrong, I'm gonna be wrong below here. I took a long, and if I was wrong, I would have cut it, then carried on with the Monday's low, holding as resistance, breakdown play. And hence, you got the smash above towards the mid-range. And then we've got that quarterly level held. And now I'm expecting higher prices. So those were last week's setups. If you watch the reviews, you know exactly what I'm on about. So let's continue now, Wagwan, with the setups this week. So let's see how the monthly shaping up. Clean chart. Okay? I will take a few alts. Will I do PYR? Yes, of course I will fucking do PYR. I'm going to smash that to the moon. Joke. But yeah. So the monthly, okay, it is looking shit. Let's be honest. Absolute dog shit. Quarterly is looking dog shit as well, but things can change. It's only the first month in. Well, not even a month into the first quarter. Things can change. But okay, not much to gain from that. That automatically says range-bound environment. Okay? Let's go to the weekly. Now, the weekly is what I'm interested in. Okay? Because I can find a case for both sides of the argument trade now. I mean, while we're within, and technically we are still within the main range. What is that main range? I would argue, well, I won't argue it, but fucking this, more or less. Okay? We got the deviations there, deviation there. We're just stuck within here. Okay? Now, this is where, this is why, and when I get to Ethereum, it'll make a lot of sense where I've got the confluence from for changing my views. Okay? When I'm day trading, my views change very, very quick. There's often times where there's a swing trade, clear breakout, and it's clear. But then when we're still within range band, and we can tell we are still within that range I mentioned, while we're within here, we got to trade both directions. Okay? And if you can trade swing trades, you got to do it at the extreme end. Now, watch this area here. So we spoke about this area previously. This was holding as key resistance for us, key SR flip. Actually, we just need to focus on here. See this region here? And this will line up with more or less our Ethereum view. So you see that view level there? That is probably my key pivot, my mean level, mean reversion level, should I say, where they cross through. So we got that support there, resistance there, resistance, support, resistance, resistance. See that flipping level deviates, as soon as it gets back up, gives us the pop. Deviates, as soon as it gets back above, gives the pop. Support, swing failure, I would anticipate a move higher. Okay? Now, this is where my intra-week levels come in. And those intra-week levels are, of course, last week's range. Why last week's range? Well, if we look at it, we have to... Hang on, I should have just done this. We've taken out last week's low off of a key level. When you want to look for a reaction, the reactions happen off of the key levels, don't they? So, if we look at this, last week's low taken off of key support to the left. Where's the stops going to be resting? Last week's high. We are more or less above the mid-range of last week. So that makes sense that deviation stops are going to be resting there if it's going to be range bound. So before I continue, is everybody clear with that? Has it made sense? Yes? So I'm just trying to give you an outside perspective. Okay? Before I get into trigger plans. Okay? Make sense? Okay, so that's that. So based off that, I'm only playing in last week's range. If it gets above last week's range, we're on towards here. Okay? So, let's continue now. Adding the levels, same levels as last week. Nothing has changed whatsoever. And what are the trigger plans now? Now this trade has been, well, the initial trade has been done now. Okay? Now what we need to see is hold above the mid-range. So what I'm going to do is, going to use two areas. One is in this week's Monday's high. Now, question is, there's going to be two setups. One is the extreme setup. Okay? I would consider this extreme since we've broken above mid-range. Now, if it gets above mid-range, if it starts breaking below mid-range, I don't want to see that. Scenario one is an increased spike, and Bitcoin being Bitcoin, it can easily give us that. If it happens that it comes into here, spikes low of the day, and any movement below mid-range, I would anticipate that to be what? A stop run. Because if it's going to go up, it shouldn't really be coming that down. If it's going to come that low, most likely means it may want to revisit these levels. So scenario one for a long, and I'm going to be bullish now. And then if it deviates back above, that's my long. Invalidation. Target one, which is at quarterly level, we went over last week. And target two, last week's high. After that, we'll deal with that. I'm going to mark out the breakout plans afterwards. Okay? That's extreme case. One more extreme case is if it does this. Where if it does this, some fast spike lower, gets back above, that's also as long as Monday's low holds, and that's my long invalidation towards the mid-range. That's the best case scenario, and Bitcoin being Bitcoin, nothing surprises me. So what I personally think is going to happen, I don't think that's even going to happen. So I'm going to be aiming for Monday's high, as that's last week's range, as we've seen on the weekly. Okay. Now let's go down on the lower time frame and say, okay, what's my trigger plan? Well, this is last week. This is the current week's Monday's high. So we are above. So today's Tuesday. We are above current Monday's high. So okay, there. They haven't quite touched this. So maybe some double bottom structure. Okay, and if you can get above that quarterly level, that means okay, we retested that. We retested this consolidation as well. That's gonna be my long invalidation towards Monday's high. Is everybody clear with that? Does that make sense? So that's what I'm looking for. Yes? Okay, let's continue. Another way is if it say, because on some exchanges it has retested Monday's high. The only way I would say overcome that is probably going to be, well, that was the initial high made when we broke out. So if we do some sort of structure like this and we reclaim above that, then that will be my trigger in violation of whatever the swing lows that took it above, and I'll play like that. Only because some exchanges have already retested this, other exchanges it hasn't. But that will be my trend continuation towards there. Now what I'm also going to do is mark out a breakout plan. Now, I'm going to go flip to a chart. Now if you look at this structure right now, I spoke about this if you remember. And I said this consolidation, okay? And once we consolidated, broke out, retested, that was the high. Well, technically, if you look at it, we are within this range now, aren't we? Right? We're within that. And further confidence is if it does the extreme end scenario, you know, that would be a retest of the trend line. That's the deviation. That's probably a long target. 1, 2, 3. Just mark out each high. Now, so if you remember that what I've just told you, well, what we've got here is we've got last week's high, which is going to be some sort of a barrier for us, some sort of a resistance for us. Okay, I remember what David said. David was also aiming for around this level here, which lines up with my range high. So a breakup plan, say for whatever reason it doesn't give us the pullback, but most likely we're probably going to get some sort of pullback, unless it's one candle straight up. Okay, fuck it, we can't do nothing about that. But most likely what's going to happen is like this, and we want to see some sort of consolidation above there. That's SR, and I don't want to see too much of a drop off of last week's high. Okay, that's also a reclaim of this level here, which is a key pivot, key SR level. Okay, now if you can do that, range, and then hold, and that is a breakout plan. Trigger invalidation, whatever the swing low is that took you a bit above, and target there. So if I was to miss the setup I mentioned on the intraday charts, and that's always there for us. Similar to this. This is what it is. There, like this. See how it led up? And I will be targeting there. After that, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see it. Okay? Maybe front run it towards this low here. Maybe getting a bit early. Maybe that level here. Before it gets to that, maybe this here. Is that clear? Does that make sense? And that's more or less it for Bitcoin, really. Just keep it simple. Got the intraday setups using last week's range, and I got the breakout strategy. Worst case scenario, I mean, if it does nuke, okay, if it does nuke, then if it gets back below here, next time around, that's my trigger, target 1, and then target 2, range lows. After that, okay, if it's going to take out those lows, I don't know, but that's where my range low ends, and that is it. Nothing more to it. Okay, let's move on. That's more or less Bitcoin covered, straightforward, straight to the plan, and I don't know what else to add to that. Ethereum now. Now remember when I pointed out this key level for Bitcoin, well, the key level for Ethereum is here. So same levels as last time. Ethereum did the same thing as well. It took out Monday's low. It deviated. You can chase it above here, invalidation, back towards the mid-range. Take out these clean stops here. After that, who gives a fuck? Next target's going to be what? Last week's high, Monday's high. Monday's high lines up with last week's high. Now, before I do that, I want to give us the support level that Ethereum is at, the macro support level. Because of the macro support levels is where we get our reaction from. There's like 372 of you here. Let's get to 200 likes if you can. Appreciate it. Get the YouTube algos going. This level here. Now watch this. See that there? There's one level that's here. Okay? But then we don't necessarily have to come that low. We got support. Okay, there's a bit of a chop here, but once it clears it, big resistance, big sell-off. Once it breaks above, it's sort of forming a base here. So simplified version would be, well, if it breaks above and holds above that, that would mean it probably comes towards here then. Now after that, does it do this or does it do that? I don't give a fuck. All I'm looking for is this play here. Okay? There. Does that make sense? So my point is, where F is at, it is at a macro support level. Okay? Now if it breaks below here, last week's Monday's low, then we got this range to deal with. And that's a separate range on its own. Now whether it does this or whether it does that, I don't know. I don't give a fuck. All I would do is play the short from there towards there. And that is it. Yes. I don't just play range bound. Watch my videos and see what I play. Okay, so that's that. Now I just wanted to remind you of that because of the fact that Bitcoin's at our key level as well. Okay, having said that, let's add back in our levels, and these are the same levels I drew last week. And what I will do is, okay, what's the trigger plan for this now? Now that we've broken over the mid range, does it do this? Does it do this? No idea, no fucking clue, and I don't care either. What I do know is I'm gonna have my plans in place, and then I'm gonna have a clear trigger for it. Whichever plan it follows, I will know what to do. So what we've got here is this. Go down to the lower time frame, maybe a 10-minute chart, and let me split the day up. What go on here? So we got this. So okay, we got this. Okay, so we got current day's high here. So this was the initial high of the day. This is important for me, and we've got around this consolidation here. So what I would want to see is break into that, deviate the mid range. Okay. And if it's a deviation, or if or when it gets back above, look at Bitcoin as well. Is it going to show the same thing? That's my long invalidation and clean break below that, and that's going to be last week's high, and that's my trigger, and that is it. I'm using Epic Pen. Why are you focusing on the silly things like I'm taking more time to explain? I've given you my reasons behind it. What kind of question is that? I'm taking more time to explain my bullish case. Okay, God give me patience. Give me 3 seconds to take time out. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so I don't blame you. It's okay. I'm explaining what the market is telling me. That's it. Okay? That's all I'm telling you. It doesn't matter which level. I couldn't give a fuck. I could trade it downside as well. But I only see... all I'm explaining is what the market is telling me, and that's it. And for now, the market is telling me upside. Now, this upside could be short-lived till here, but if the market is telling me up, I'm gonna have to go up. Okay. The other way is this is the key SR level here. So say we don't come down towards. Fuck you, mom. 1 second. No disrespect to any milfs here, but fuck your mom anyway. So if it does that and holds, well, see that here? That was the area of deviation before. If it doesn't come towards here, I'll take a long there and I'll smack it there, cut in a clean break below that. Okay? And that is it. And that's pretty that would be trade continuation. So ideally, I do want a bit of a squeeze. I love to see the deviations. Why? Because the deviations give me invalidations to work with. Okay? If you don't like it here, take it there. At that point, the deviation should be done with. And towards there. Okay? That's Ethereum. And that's more or less it. Worst case scenario is if we come towards it. So see this here as a key SR level. Now let me remind you what that level is. Okay? That level is this key SR resistance level here. See that there? There. So remember that. And just like I showed with Bitcoin, just in case we smash down lower, okay? Again, I'm not saying up or down, for God's sake. The next person that's up or down, firstly, go fuck your mom. Secondly, I will do it as well. Thirdly, get the fuck out the stream. Honestly, man, I don't know if maybe God played a joke, so giving you this kind of fucking IQ, or maybe you are like that, maybe you hit on the head, or maybe, I don't know, you went through some shit on a farm or something. Fuck knows. But fucking hell, listen to what I'm saying. Why are you so thick? Why? Anyways, before I get myself worked up, the extreme end scenario would be retest last week's Monday's high. That is that key level. See that there? Deviation. Once it gets back above, pushes up. Okay? Deviation. Once it pushes back above. Like some people, like I don't get it. I seriously do not get it. Were you fucked on a farm by a cow or something? Like seriously, like how thick can you be? Fucking Alma. You know what? I'm gonna shut the fuck up. Take a deep breath. Yeah. No, but it just amazes me. Like just when I see someone thick as fuck, right, and they come up with another thick as fuck question, I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe you were conceived through the wrong hole. I blame your parents for that. Go to your dad and say, why the fuck did you conceive me through the wrong hole? Then have a word with your mom and say, yo, what's going on here? What the fuck's going on here? But anyway, let's continue. So let's continue. So that's that Ethereum plan. Let's go to PYR. Let's start pumping the fuck out of PYR. So I spoke about this last week. And we spoke about possibly to the blue level here. So what I wanted to see is come down towards here. And that was the ideal scenario. The secondary scenario was, okay, if it comes down and it doesn't do that, okay? Here. And if it doesn't do that, like in this case, it sort of swung fairless. But once it got above here, I said that's a range play towards last week's Monday's high. And we've done that, more or less, close enough, okay? So, I'm not pumping the market. I'm going with my fucking trades. Okay, there. And it's done that. I personally am long. Okay. And I'm going to give you my reason why. If I'm bullish Bitcoin, I've given the good case for Bitcoin. Now, if Bitcoin shits the bed, all bets are off. Okay. All bets are off if Bitcoin shits the bed. Remember that. Okay. It is what it is. But as long as Bitcoin can hold, I am going towards these regions. And I've done a snippet video on my feed for that. Now, why do I like this? Well, for one reason, the Bitcoin PYR BTC chart is showing strength. So if PYR BTC is bullish, then it's probably better than Bitcoin in that sense, okay? And it's also pumped the hardest. Okay, so that's one reason. That's basic chart. And another reason is, well, low, high, higher, low, higher, high. And that could be it, okay? Say if you weren't in this trade, then what I would do is I'd wait for a range breakout. So this is... Oh, fuck off. That's my range high. Okay. 1 second. That's my target, as this is our previous range highs. So you've got resistance, deviation, resistance. So they consolidate here. Once it breaks and holds above, then that's my long towards there. That's a separate trade. Okay? And that is it. Okay? What other coins? Okay, so that's more or less my PYR done. That is why. And ES, we spoke about this. Well, ES sort of maybe looks like it's probably going to push higher. So we spoke about this as a key SR level here. So it's deviated, held that, and if you look at my snippet video, I mentioned that yesterday towards here. Now, if ES can get above here and hold, now maybe long bigger picture goes down, but that's going to be the next objective. These highs here, and then maybe even, I don't know, towards here. But my point being is, if it can even just consolidate towards here, Bitcoin has a chance of pushing up higher. Okay? So we'll do Sol, Sys, and whatever I can do. So that's that done. Let's move on. Sol. I did use Sol, didn't I? Sol. I got stopped out of one of my Sol trades. So if you look at Sol, right? I mean, Sol's not looking too bad either. Sol's not looking too bad. If I look at this. This is our mid-range, right? And I've used that as my range high, quarterly range high, and that's the mid-range. Now, even if it can go lower, that is a good magnet for price. Okay, so if that's the case, I just need to put this could do this. Or this could do this. I don't care. What I'm going to play is that portion of the move. Okay? So, if I go down to the lower time frame, now look at this carefully. We've got this here. Key, pivot. We've also swung fell this. At the same time, Bitcoin's done the same thing. So, clean break up and hold above. That is actually a decent long. And play up to the base of the move. Okay? This was the consolidation, right? After that, I don't give a fuck what happens. Just go above, go down, I don't care. But that's my long. Reclaim. Cut it if it gets back below here. And that's your long. Simple as that. On the downside, if it breaks back below here, All bets are off. Target 1, and then target 2, and then probably the 66 level. Now, does it do this or does it do this? I don't know. I don't care. All I know is that's my range to play, and that's all I need. Okay? That's that. Next up, SIS. SIS. Let's do this BTC. Right. Okay, that's not looking too bad either. If I look at it like this, key support. What I would want to see is, I mean, where's the next, well, that's the region to reach for. And then I like this region there. So if SIS BTC does this, okay, break above, hold, long, target 1, target 2. And if I do the SIS USDT chart, what does that look like? Well, it's more or less the same thing, isn't it, on there? So if I look at it like this perspective, what's capping the market is probably here. Ah, that looks shit. Maybe I need more data. It's got fuck all data. Does anybody know which way I can go for more data? Maybe CCUSD. That's better. I actually got levels here. Okay, let's break it down now. Let's maybe use a Monday's range. Who knows? We got that there. And there we go. So, what's a nice target for price? I would say, well, if we're coming off of this consolidation, and again, there, then what you've got here is also this, okay? Get rid of these lines. We've also got some like this low here. That's capping the market. So where would be objective? I mean, back toward the blue box region, but I'd go for that as first target. So if it does, I don't know, breaks and holds above this time with Bitcoin pushing up, nice trendline break off of this, target 1, target 2. And that is it. Okay. ZCX. I am in ZCX. I've got a long-term bag. I am underwater, but I've 50% of my ZCX bag. So I'm not going to lie to you on that. I am underwater on that. But ZCX, what can I say? I mean there's not much data to work with. I got along around about 3-ish area, and 3 to 4 area. More than 50. Oh, fucking, I thought it was 50% is more than that. But yeah, I mean, fucking looks fucked, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean, it's at extreme ends. It's at extreme lows. I mean, from there, it went to that. So I would say with ZCX, I am in this. I have a spot, but I am big time underwater on this. I am big time underwater on this. It is where it is. But that's my long. Split towards level to level. And then if it reclaims that, then we'll deal with that then. That alone is a big enough move. That's 100% move. So over 100% move. That's that there. Okay. And we'll do Rune. And then I'm going to fuck off. Okay. Rune's not looking too bad. Rune's not looking too bad, is it? I remember I bought some Rune here. I thought it was going to be shit. Look at you, fucking went to like 20. Rune's actually not looking too bad. Okay. It reminds me of this. Like, if you look at the structure wise, when it rallies and they come back to halfway point, makes another leg. Maybe that's the point. Rallies, come back to halfway point, makes another leg. Okay, if that is the case. At the same time, whether you think this market's going to go to shit or not, listen, these fucking Ponzi's fucking rally the best. Ponzi's rally the best. Don't forget that. I say that, but all my Ponzi's fucking not doing shit. So I'm going to bitch like a hoe anyway. So, okay, jokes aside. Where will be the objective? Here. Okay? There. Now, as for target, well, I mean, entry-wise, we've got a nice trendline break happening here, haven't we? We've also got what's this coming off of key support, which is here, right? So if you can break above, establish itself above that, and that's your long. First target there, second target there. After that, fuck knows what happens. Target and target. Does that make sense? Yeah, Zava. I'm still in Zava as well. I love his underwater. What can I say? I'm still in Zava. I mean, half the coins are probably underwater, but it is what it is. Okay, that's me done. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'm getting tired. After fasting, we'll do more longer ones. It takes it out of you, okay? So, like the video, Share it if you can. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and use the link in the description if you like these. If you like these streams, then use the link in the description. Use TraderSZ promo code, and I'll catch you guys next week. Bye bye.